What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show, my show, Bus Driver Experience. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Happy to have you guys back in and back on the wheels of the bus. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. If you're new to the show, welcome. Welcome to the Bus Driver Experience. Go check out everything the Bus Driver Experience has to offer, whether that's all of our old and new podcasts, as well as the YouTube channel, because it's not just about the audio storytelling and conversations with unique and charismatic individuals, but it's about taking part in their experience. And whether it's flying down the track in a bobsled, getting to a wrestling ring, and hopefully sumo wrestling, I'm going to be pumped for that one. It's happening on the Bus Driver Experience YouTube page. So go ahead and check that out. And of course, find out how you can take part in all these crazy experiences and connect with those individuals who are living out amazing, unique experiences of life. I'm so happy to get to connect with these folks and really get to learn about how they make the most of what they do, of their life on earth, because that's what it's all about, baby. And so today, we've got a great guest for you. We have Brittany Berger. Brittany Berger is author of the book 25 and Selfish. I've had a lot of friends and a lot of fans of Brittany reach out to me to have a conversation with her. I've been trying to get her on the show since about October when I met her in Miami. We've been going back and forth, but she was out in LA, and I was so happy that she swung by. We got in here in the studio late on a Friday night, and we recorded this show. I think I was all covered in paint. But anyways, let's get right into the episode with Brittany Berger.
Okay.
All right, B, two Floridians.
Can't believe we're here.
I can't believe we're not recording this in Florida. It took us to come to California to get
You're
this show
right,
going.
for a hot minute.
Hot minute. Probably since October of last year. We've been talking about getting this one together.
That's crazy. I think you're right.
Yeah, and I can't even ask why you're out here because you don't want to tell me why you're out here. But
I'm out here for another job that is 25 and Selfish, not related.
not 25 and Selfish related.
Mm-hmm.
This is the original job.
This is the original job, original event type thing, but on a consultant basis. So.
Because I mean, I read the book, so I had to make sure. Like.
Yeah.
I brushed up on the book. You know.
It's them.
It's as a guy, it's not really. I'd say a typical book I read. You know, I'm just watching you in the first chapter. You talk about this. We'll call it a romance with this guy in Israel, the soldier in Israel. Just like, okay, you know, like let me get in the shoes. I'm really good at making things relatable. Let me try and sit there and imagine, you know, if I'm this girl gushing over, you know, this guy and going off on this brand new experience. Like it was my first experience traveling because I was there at once. Although I seem like this hippie nomad, so comfortable anywhere I go.
Once upon a time, the tribe took you there.
Yeah, you know, Stephen Winnett, first time
love him.
to Europe.
Wow.
It was with him, his brother, and his brother's roommate, and we got to Paris. And this story right here is the one really story that inspired me to do what I wanted to do.
Wow.
We got to a hostel, and his brother goes, "Okay, Brandon, we're gonna do whatever you want to do today." And I'm like, wait, what do you mean whatever? You know, I've come from a background of playing basketball every day, just discipline, doing this. I had fun, had a good time, but wait, like you guys are all gonna do what I want to do, and that's it? Well, I don't know. What's you know, literally anything you can think of, just go out and do it. So I just thought of the most ridiculous thing I could think of out, and we got stale baguettes, and we had a sword fight under the Eiffel Tower, and we beat the shit out of each other. I mean, I had cuts and scars on me, but it just gave me the idea that, you know, we live in a time where anything you want to do and anything you want to be is possible. Maybe not this second. Maybe there are limiting factors to where you are,
For sure.
where you're from, your background, but you know, if you want to start the process to get where you want to get and do what you want to do, it's really possible today.
That's true. Even external factors of your community and I would say pressures from society of telling you can do something or you can't, and deciding I don't care what they say, I'm going to do it anyway. Or that even if you do try and you're afraid of failing, you can always go back to square one. What we were talking about earlier was within jobs, you know, at the time is when I decided to write my book and leave my job and move to another country and come back and thinking I had these certain business ideas that I would pick from and that the book was the first one I kind of wanted to dive into, that even if it didn't work out, I could always go back to work. That at least I tried, that even if they ask me, why did you leave your job if it was so great? And I would say there's no room for growth, which was true. So why did you go to London or go to another country? And at the time, I took a digital marketing course there because why not, you know? And I didn't know that I'd end up be working there by accident. But that also, I decided, okay, I'm doing something new. I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to give myself that opportunity. If it didn't work out, I would be honest to my next hire of a company if I did want to go back to work for somebody else, saying, I wanted to work for me. I thought maybe entrepreneurship would work out, but it didn't. So now I'm going back to work, and that's okay. Like, I tried something more. I didn't see it as a failure, if I would have went that route, if it wasn't successful. I mean, when people think that they're afraid to take that leap or that jump into whatever their dream or goal is, or career, or moving across the country, to LA or to wherever you want to do. And in that moment, you just realize, oh, I tried. That's not a failure. That's a success within itself. And I think that people put a mindset and a cap on what success is in life based on whatever your goal is. And it can always change. And it doesn't always have to be that exact experience of whatever expectation you have for yourself. It could evolve into something incredibly different. I thought I would come back here and maybe, try those business ideas, but go back into the event industry. It was something I knew I went to school for and I was good at. I was great at, And then I'm going into writing, not knowing anything, never taking a writing class, never going to journalism school, never doing anything with writing or a PR major. Yeah, I wrote press releases here and there based on my past jobs, but I just decided I'm doing this thing. I had a story to tell, and thank God it's well received and it's super honest and it's relatable and it's a quick read. And even if at the time I thought maybe this is for 20-somethings, maybe it's just for women, I realize it's not. I have 40-year-old men who are like, I'm asking myself questions that I've never asked before, and I realize I don't know the answer to it. I want to find that, even at age 40, if they're single or not, or male or female, or whatever age, mom, daughter, 19-year-old in college. And it's funny because I've been having recent feedback from college students saying, I read your book, I broke up with my boyfriend. I was like, oh, sorry, or oh, congratulations, why? Mm-hmm. And they're like, I had no self-worth and I was making excuses, for reasons why maybe I wasn't feeling as loved, but I was giving my whole life and sacrificing everything for him and his dream. And I think even in relationships in general, that could happen at any age. But to also notice that young, based on just my story of a fun romance that I felt so deeply, that even though writing my second book now, I've evolved so much in conscious thought and in how I perceive who I am and my self-worth or experience based on just being like, I want to have fun. Even if that means that's a good or bad decision, I want to do it. We can do anything, not just professionally, but personally.
That was not a 10. And before we go any deeper into all these talks about self-worth, self-love, and discovering how we can tap into those things about us. Give our listeners a little background, a little context, who you are. I mean, we jumped into already this heartthrob story in Israel. The book, you're already on your second book, but give people a context of who you are. How we got here, and what happened with that first book, and what is the 25 and Selfish.
Who am I? Is that what we're really saying?
Start from the beginning, and when you get to the end, I'm going to stop you.
Okay, perfect. So it's a great question because I feel like who I am now is so not who I was then, even when I was writing 25 and Selfish. And I'm going to answer this a bit differently, though.
Take it.
Because for 25 and Selfish, I wrote this book because I was an event manager at a company, and there was no room for growth because I was in my 20s, and they were looking for someone, let's say, with experience in their 30s. And we say maybe age ain't nothing but a number, but also age shouldn't predicate our performance. And even as a label of millennials, and I hate that word, and I can't wait to love it one day, because to me,
why do you hate it?
It has such a negative connotation in my community. And
Okay.
it doesn't mean that it's all around the world or in a city, but in my community, the people who I'm surrounded with, whether it's like parents, elders, seniors in the workforce, or
What community is this you're talking about?
this is maybe my Jewish community in Miami. Either way, I don't let that stop me. And it's actually even better because I'm speaking on a millennial mindset panel at the end of this month. And I'm excited to, because I want to show them that just being a millennial, some people who are older than us have this perspective of, oh, they're lazy, they want everything given to them, they don't work hard enough. And I'm like, you can't label me under a generation. Like, don't label me as anything at all. I am who I am. My work ethic comes and stems from within me of what I want to put out there. I'm hardworking. There are hardworking millennials in this world, right? And I realized 25 and Selfish was the year before I was turning 25, and I was unhappy in my job, and I was making great money, and on paper I was traveling the country. I was fighting for what I wanted in my job, which was just a lot of experience to be a manager. And even though they wanted to stunt my growth and saying, you look young, you're not in your 30s, we can't let you grow to that point. And I'm like, why? if you say that I'm great, I'm doing everybody else's job, I'm carrying the weight, why can't I grow here? If there's no room for growth, I felt, okay, if I'm not going to leave, am I going to be pushed out, or am I going to stay and feel like I'm drowning? I didn't want to wake up every day feeling like I was unhappy, and I was. So was I going to change anything about it? That we have this mentality of, I'm making money, I need money to survive in this world right now. Do I stay? Even though I'm waking up every day miserable, that's not who I am. So when we say, like, who is Brittany Berger, even if I want to talk about myself or what I do, I can say, yes, I am now an author, a public speaker, a mindset mentor, a fitness coach on the side, because I love it, because that's also become my passion after years of, you played basketball your whole life, maybe you still do for fun. For me, I danced competitively my whole life. I was a dancer. I am a dancer in the club, or in life. But I also love teaching fitness now, and I love being in front of that audience. But when I think of who I am, like, I have a workshop that I do of saying, okay, I'm an author, so maybe I'm creative, and I'm an artist, or I'm also a sister and a daughter and a great friend, so I'm nurturing and caring and loving. That's when I feel like you ask, who are you, what brought you here? All those qualities of myself, of my core, who I had to know and realize and be okay with who I am. That's who I would say Brittany Berger is. How she got here was going to Israel, giving myself to someone very quickly, which is something that I normally wouldn't do as quickly, and falling in this beautiful, deep, short-lived love that completely transformed how I view life, just with one person. And that's what I think is beautiful about soulmates and having so many in life. And I do believe that there's not just one. I do believe that there's many, that he showed me that I don't have to step on eggshells, even though I just met this guy who I thought was like a godlike figure, which is hilarious thinking back now, because this was a couple of years ago. Good for him. But that showed me that I always thought success was built on making a lot of money and building an empire and maybe becoming a CEO one day. That's what I felt based on what my father taught me, even though my mother was like the nurturing, loving side. My dad is a hard-ass worker, working 7 days a week, has his own company, and that's how he sees success in life. So I adopted that. And when I met him, he was just like, be present. Like, what does your tattoo say that I just saw?
Read it.
It says, the best place to be here. No, I just messed up. The best place to be is here.
There you go.
And what I love about it is, even more now, every day, I'm like, Britt, you need to be more present. Like, I do so many things at once, and I have so many different adventures of income and things that I do professionally that I also need to just be here. And he taught me how to be here and how to be present. And I needed him in my life in order to transform, realizing, hey, girl, you're not happy in your job. You can leave. Like, you're afraid to leave, but you can do it. Like, what's on the other side of fear? What are you really afraid of? You saved up your money? Are you afraid of failure, of not getting another job again, having to get a new work family? Those were things that I was fearful of. And then going through the challenges in my job, ending up leaving when everybody was telling me, you're making a huge mistake in your life. You're taking a break because you're just unhappy. They didn't see that as a good enough reason. And I don't even need their approval. And because I was so used to listening to everybody else's opinion when I already had the answers of, alarms were going off, you're unhappy here, move on. Like, you've been with this company for a while. All the signs are there, you're not listening to it. And I think even you can relate that to relationships, with man or a woman, that all the signs are there. You're not supposed to be with that person, or you're not unhappy, but you're there because you're safe and comfortable.
Yeah, but like, even when you're not safe and comfortable, like, you can get caught up. You can in those moves. Like, oh wow, no, listen, we could fix this. This could happen, but you mentioned fear and trying to get out of that bubble. And we get so caught up. I think we don't even realize we get so caught up in the moment, and we get stuck in it. And we just think this is the only place and how it's always going to be. And this is the only way it is, but in a negative connotation. Rather, less about being comfortable, but the other side. And you get the worst is when you have that self-realization, like, oh, holy shit, I'm in it. And why can't I get out of this? Why do I think this is the worst moment? I'm never gonna. This is my life now.
We get stuck.
Yeah.
And the reason why I called it Self-ish was because when I was rereading the book and I had a different title, I was like, you know what? I had a different title. And it was actually The 3 Versions of Me.
Glad you changed it.
I'm glad I changed it too. But I'll tell you why. This was at the beginning, and it's funny because for my next book, I'm not even worried about what the title is. I will know at the end.
Do we get a sneak peek or no?
Oh, what it's about?
No, title.
Oh, I don't have one, and I'm not even worried about it.
Okay.
It's not finished yet, the project. However, when I thought of the 3 versions of me, I thought in this romance, you know, putting myself in that position, leaving my job, which is also so not me, being with that guy, which was so not me in that particular situation of also wanting to leave my whole life, everything I've built, all my friends and family to move to Israel for a guy. And you know what? I used to see when girls would move to be with their boyfriend and wherever they were living and form a life there, I used to judge them and view that as a weakness. Like, you're leaving your life for him? Are you kidding me?
Oh, God.
I used to think that way. And then I almost became that girl. And I thought, I'm leaving everything for him. That's strength, because I'm leaving everything I know into uncertainty, into the unknown for one feeling, which is love. Like, just to try that and figure it out and see where it is. That's being strong. That's being brave. That's overcoming fear. That is not weak. And now every girl that I find out, she leaves to go meet him or he leaves to go live with her just to try out because you love someone that much, that I know that's why we're here on this earth, for that feeling. Like, I want that. Even though I didn't end up going, obviously. Here we are.
Guilty right here.
But yeah, you do it, and that's okay. And the best part about it is that you grow. Whether that works out or not, and we look at it as, oh, poor me, or I'm heartbroken. Like, look at the lessons you learned. Like, in my next book, I have a beautiful relationship with a man who came into my life, who sat next to me at a restaurant, that I never thought in a million freaking years ever I would ever even be intimate with, you know? Where I thought my parents aren't going to even approve. And of course they were in the back of my mind. And I was like, what are my lessons here? Like, I know he's not my future, but what are my lessons?
Hold on. Who was this guy?
Can't tell you.
Maybe not who, but like, why were you why were your parents like just like
high profile status?
But why were your parents just like, you know, what was it going to be?
He was everything they would probably never want for me. Fact. We can't get into details, but you can read the next book about it, let me tell you.
Okay.
Other than that,
we're getting hyped.
I know you're getting so hyped. Oh, such great stories. Either way, I was like, what are my lessons here? And he always viewed me as a woman, never a girl. And he was like, B, you're a boss. And I was like, yeah, thank you. Like, I know, but like some people don't know. Or some guys are like intimidated and like, that's fine, you do you. But he showed me that I want a man who's a man, not a boy who is lost, you know, who treats me with respect, who sees me as like a woman who is independent, but like I'm doing my thing and I am me. Like, I'm not trying to be anybody else, you know? And I just want to be me. I've dated in the past to where I felt like I had to change what I like just to like what they like and change things about me. And I just want to be me, but I also realize souls have no religion or race, you know, even gender for some. Like, it makes sense. Like, souls connect. You're here for a reason. Also, divine timing. Like, divine timing, though. That's a whole other conversation. But things literally happen at a certain time because they're supposed to. And if it's not right in that moment, accept it, you know? And for me, again, leaving my job and deciding to move to another country, all things that I would never do, that was not my personality. Everybody was telling me, this isn't you, don't do it. And I was like, no, I'm doing it for me. This is my life. That's what being selfish is. That the word selfish by definition is lack of consideration for others, right? So I was like, I'm considering me right now. This is my life. I've considered everybody else all the time. Everybody else's opinion. I'm like, yeah, I'll listen to you, but I'm not going to follow what you're telling me to do because I need to do this for me. Because we always got our own backs. Like, you need support from people, sure. Encouragement from people, sure. But then you have the people who tell you maybe you're not going to be a success, or this is the wrong idea, or you're going to regret that. Let me regret that. I'm going to learn from it.
Been hearing that forever.
Yeah, let me slip and fall. I'll get back up. Like, it's okay. And that's what nobody tells us enough. And I feel like our generation, it's okay.
It is, and that's where you're going to see with millennials, I think, coming into these executive roles in companies in the next 10 years, is just how much more just open they're going to be, not just to investment, but just ways that they can make these workspaces and conditions there for Gen Z, because we've had the internet. We weren't birthed into it. We came into it. We had no one gave us a guidebook or knew anything about what this was. And that's where the judgment comes from the other generations, the Gen X, the baby boomers.
And we've adapted.
We've adapted. We've taken it on. You know, that, okay, you don't have to work 40 hours a week. And why is that looked down in a negative way? Why isn't that looked at like, oh, wow, you can get 40 hours of work done in 20 hours? Now it comes down to, and my big thing is how do we value our time?
Right. How do we monetize it?
Technology and automation is there to make our lives easier. And if we're going to have all this extra time now, what are we going to do with all of it? Because we have to redefine our purpose and meaning, because a lot of people derived it from jobs. And when people lose their jobs or they get severance packages, I think in Spain, there was the great title, euthanize the coal industry due to the Paris Accords. So they gave unreal severance packages, millions of dollars to these individuals, and they have enough money to live off of, never work again, but they're like, I don't know what to do. What am I going to do today? Where, I've had that moment at 22,
right.
Lucky and privileged enough to have an experience like that, but, you can't take it for granted when people are scared and they are fearful. But this is such a great catalyst and a huge moment for us as a society to say, okay, how can we even get more out of who we are and what we do with a limited
and do you know what I think the difference is between the generations is that I feel, and I wonder if you agree, but that we're leading with more passion, because back in the day, you were like, okay, what does my family do? I'm going to go into that business. Or what am I supposed to do? Or my parents want me to be a doctor. I'm going to go into that field, even though it's not for me. Or I want to go and be a lawyer, even though I realize now that's not for me. And we don't know early on enough because we're adopting everybody else's beliefs based on what they feel we should be doing instead of what we want to do or what we think is right or what our path is. And maybe we don't know yet. And paths always change. Like, I thought I'd be doing events for the rest of my life. I never thought I would be here ever. And I'm so thankful because I enjoy it. I wake up every single day and I'm so happy. And even though I do 100 different things, those 100 things make me so much happier than what I was doing years ago. And there is no price you can put on that. Yes, a certain price to where I need to live, of course, and pay for my shit. But other than that, like, you make it work. And that's the thing is, I feel like we're sometimes so distracted and we have technology. And yes, that does distract us. Like, even when people go to Burning Man, and I've never been, and I know it does great things for people.
I'm out.
And you're like,
I will not conform.
I'm just more of like, I need to take showers, like, and maybe wash my face multiple times. And that's cool.
There's a car wash. A shower car wash.
That's great. But also, like, the map, like, they're like, you don't need a map. You get lost. That's the fun of it. I'm like, that's great. Like, I'm not great at getting lost. Like, I get lost on a highway with directions and Waze.
Hold on.
Not all the time, actually.
How can't you get lost?
Is that something I should try to find this year?
Let's
to get
talk.
lost?
Let's talk.
Okay.
You'll meet me in a country where we'll get lost. I'll show you how to get lost.
Maybe I can get lost there, but like not in the desert and Burning Man and being like, But the whole thing with technology also is just that sometimes we're distracted, and I feel like we're in a world now where people decide what they want to do and they will excel at it as long as their heart and soul is in it and they're good at it and they can develop skills at it, and that's okay. Like, I think that now that I know what I'm doing and I'm so passionate about it and I want to evolve it and make it even so much greater than it is, and with patience and timing, I know that it will come, let's say, but that with the past generations, it's just like, you're supposed to be chained to this desk from 9 to 5. Like, you're going to only grow until I tell you to, because I'm your boss and I'm twice your age and I earned to be here and I had to walk through this fire to be here. And I'm like, well, maybe I didn't walk through fire, but maybe I took like a different route. Maybe I took the GPS and took a shortcut. Don't kill me for it, So it's kind of like we are deciding how we want to live this life and what makes us happy, and whether that's staying in the corporate world or doing something that we create on our own and finding that, or doing 5 different jobs and balancing that and making that our main source of income that is equivalent to working for someone else in a place where we're unhappy. We can create that here. And I think that past generations never thought that they could create it to this point where it's like everybody's doing something new, everybody's doing a startup, that short hour work week, because we're becoming more efficient because we want to be there. And so many people in their jobs, they don't want to be there. They're just doing what they feel they're supposed to, or maybe what they like, or they're changing a job every year. That's fine. That's experience. But we have to ask ourselves, like, what do you want to do? And what makes you happy? You can ask that. It's not a scary thing. But if you know you're in a place that you're not unhappy in, or you feel like, I have so much emotion or time invested in it, I can't leave now, you can leave now. We're not stuck anywhere. Like, we move for a reason.
But like you said, there was never been that person or generation ahead that's had people like yourself that are going out there and telling people, listen, I was you. You don't need to do this.
And you know what else? Breaks are not given. They're a choice.
Yeah.
And we know that. And people don't realize, if you want a break, you take it. That's your decision, whether it's looked down upon or not. When I went to London, I remember my grandpa's like, oh, you're taking a break from your life. And he's like, you're going to be fun employed or a lady of leisure. I was like, I love that. I'm going to be a lady of leisure, And then I touch down and I get a job accidentally the next day, like just because of being me, And you just have to just do what you want to do. Or if you want to live your life, make a lot of money, spend it in Italy for a month. One of my friends just did that, and now he's working again. And people are looking down upon it, even though he's some finance wizard.
It's taking a mini retirement.
Yeah. But through his life, and he's like, guess what? I'm living. I was like, I want to live, Even now, the past couple months, I've been so go, go, go. And that's why your tattoo just touched my heart, because when I've been meditating and I haven't been doing it every day, and every time that I do, it makes me so happy. And I'm like, you need to come back to this place, even if it's just for a couple minutes. Every day, it's like, Britt, be here. Just for a second, breathe, be present. And I want that, to me, that's living, is noticing, what day is it? Oh, it's Friday. Great. Yeah, I've been busting my ass working, thinking that I have this balance thing figured out. And sometimes you don't, because your schedule picks up. But at what point do you take a step back and say, let me go back to that place of being here, of being present, of still having my stuff together, of still getting things done, but feeling good about it when I didn't feel so good, because we're not perfect. We don't have it figured out all the time, but you can still get there. It's never the end.
It's a layer of self-resistance.
Yeah.
Stephen Pressfield, The Art of War. Have you ever read it?
No, I haven't.
What book did he write?
Well, what did you learn from it, most importantly?
It's just this level of idea that you can do and be anything you want to do, but there's that layer of resistance that you put on yourself. For example, when I start a whole podcast series, video series, simple tutorial about what is a podcast in order to market myself in my own podcast business I have, and to put it out there. And guess what? I've shot a few videos. They're not good. They're not great. I don't like them, but I can come in here. I have this whole studio to get this done, put the effort and put the work forward to it, write a script, but I don't have it out yet. And what is it, that thing? Is there a thing in my head that says, Brandon, no, someone's going to say you're wrong in this thing.
It's
this
the
fact
judgment.
wasn't great. And it's people don't realize, even I, out there, look like a hippie, barefoot, moving all the time, we all have these little resistant factors, but they're all internal and they're all limiting. And you have the network, you have a community, people that are going to let you go out and let you be who you want to be and support you and who you want to be. You just can't do that for things that aren't even real. And that's where I wanted to go to next with this, is leaving identities. Because you mentioned this, and it touched me on the idea of, you were a dancer your whole life, and me as a basketball player, I had to let go of that identity, that persona, because that's all I was.
Yeah.
I woke up every day, started dribbling, started shooting 6 or 8 hours. That was my life. And, having to go and step away from that thing and not be the best at that thing anymore was scary.
Yeah.
And it's I'm only 25 and I'm retiring right now, and I have to learn something completely new and start over. And it was the scariest thing. And to take me through, when you let go of few identities, and how did you move on to the next ones? And
you know what? I think also the biggest thing we have to let go of is feeling like we're never good enough.
Everybody,
and
guys, girls.
It's the first thing that I thought of when you just said, you're like, I have this, maybe it doesn't look good, but the content is there, the script is there, but what's limiting me from putting it out there right now? And it's you know what? If your content is good, F them. Put it out. But I know that you want to put out your best work.
1000%.
And so, and it's funny because with me and with my book, I was like, maybe this isn't where I want it to be. Maybe this isn't good enough. I want it to be its best. I want it to be its best. And whether you're perfection or not, you want to be the best. But there's always that thought in the back of our minds of, what are other people going to think? By instinct, are they going to judge me? Of course they are. But guess what? Not caring what they think, not caring if they hate it, not caring if it doesn't, vibe with what they're used to, because it'll resonate with someone. That's not your audience you're looking for. No. Someone will resonate with you. So identity-wise, damn. Let me think. I'm going to go back to right before who I was. It's funny because this cute girl who I just met, she just emailed me. That's what I was writing upstairs. And she's turning 20 on Sunday. And she just asked me a question, who were you when you were 20? I'm like, I don't know. So I went on Facebook, which I never do. And I'm scrolling through pictures. And I was like, who was I at 20? And I'm like, I know I was motivated because I know before 21, like I had the internship, the job. Like I just wanted to work. And I wanted to be so successful in whatever I was going to do in a profession. But I'm looking and I was like, I look so happy and I was so carefree. And I was having so much fun. And I was like, am I having that much fun now? You know? And so at 20, I was like, what should I write to her? Like, should I tell her that I was young, wild, and free? I mean, I hope I was. I would want to be, please. But even, you know, what I talk about with my first book is I'm like, who is that girl? Who is that girl of 25 and selfish, behind the glasses, behind the red lips, under that jacket? Like, the reason why that's my cover is because I wanted you to look at it and say, who is that behind all of that stuff? Like, let me find out by reading her, because you read it. It's very vulnerable. It's like my innermost truth and insecurities that I didn't even know I had. That's how buried down they were. Mm-hmm. And I loved, there were certain parts of the book where I was like, even about the romance, I was like, oh my God, do I write this? Like, do I let my audience know? And I'm like, Brittany, you have to. This is your whole point. If you're going to go for it, you got to go for it all the way. And you got to be the most honest self that you could ever be. Even, you know, you're afraid of what people are going to think. Don't be afraid. It's your story. And so I feel even through that journey that before turning 25, I was so afraid. I was unhappy. And on paper, everything just, my life looked really great, you know? And on the inside, I wasn't who I felt I was or who I wanted to be. And I always thought I was this positive, happy person who knew what she wanted to a T and was always driven to go get it. And I lost myself for a little bit just because I lost what was important to me, where I didn't even know what was important to me anymore. And that's why I totally believe that he came into my life to show that to me again and refuel that. And I think through that journey of giving him a shot, dealing with that heartbreak that felt so deep for me, still one of my top ones, leaving my job, not having that security of knowing what was next, not having a plan when I've always had a backup plan, going to another country just because, just to be like, can I be happy again? I hope so. How do I get there? When everybody's telling me, you don't deserve this. And I almost half listened to them. And if I did, I would have never had this book. And through that whole journey, I learned courage. Because, I hope I don't pronounce his name wrong, but Alex Banyan, like The Third Door.
Yeah.
Did you read that book?
I didn't read the book,
okay.
But I know you're talking about.
I listened to him on an interview, which was so beautiful, and he just said, you know, if somebody jumps off a cliff or bungee jumps, and they're like, yeah, like I'm crushing my fear because I'm jumping off. He's like, you're just jumping. You're not really looking at the consequences. You didn't think it through and know what certainties or uncertainties lie ahead. But for everything that I did through that romance, through leaving my job, not knowing what's next, through going through another country and literally not knowing what I was going to do next, having an idea, not knowing where it was going to go at all, not really knowing what my identity was. I was like, who's Brittany Berger? Oh, hey, I do events. I'm an event manager. I'm a fitness instructor. That's it. I'm 20-something. Like, that's who I thought I was. That's who I identified myself with, labels, right? Then when I realized, and I heard that from him, I was like, I weighed out all the pros and cons. I weighed out all the certainties and uncertainties. I knew I was leaping into the unknown. I knew I was afraid. I didn't know what was on the other side. But because of that, I wanted to know. I was like, what's the worst that can happen? I come back here. It doesn't work out. Everybody has that story. If they approach that fear of failure, let's say, or whatever may be there, like, why don't we approach that? Why don't we befriend it? Why don't we become comfortable with it? Because now I have a book. Now I'm here with you. Mm-hmm. You know, now I speak on so many panels or have my own events and workshops to where I'm literally helping people, or I lead guided meditations to where I just led another one on Sunday, and this girl came up to me and was like, I was afraid to come up to you. And I was like, were you afraid because of my energy, or were you afraid because of something that's underlying for you? Because I feel that I'm super open, that anybody can come up to me. Mm-hmm. She was like, wow, it was me. But it was like a really little awkward standing meditation at the time, and she got emotional and she cried from it, and she said, I needed that. Like, the moment I put my hands over my heart, like, I felt your energy even though I was 3 rows away from you. So for me, I'm like, that's what we look forward to in life. Like, what is identity now? And in order to go through that journey and learn courage through it, weighing out everything, now I feel like my identity is bravery, because everything that I choose to do now, I own it. Even if it's certain or uncertain, I'm still going to go for it. And that now more than ever, I at least want to try and always approach that fear in order to find some type of success that may be at the end. To where it's like I'm not even afraid of fear anymore, to be honest.
Were these boots before or after you got over the fear? Some pretty badass boots.
I bought them in London, so they were badass. They were in the midst of overcoming fear, where I was like, fear ain't a thing.
We're looking at like chocolate cow.
Do you want to pet them? You can. Cowhide.
They are cowhide.
Yeah. Cows were not killed in the making of these boots or my earrings. Aren't they dope?
What do you got there?
They're also wrapped.
So those aren't real cow.
No.
No idea.
You got sidetracked.
Well, no, it was a part of the story right there.
Okay, great.
With the cowhide.
Oh, that's fun. But anyway, fears of identity. I think we just need to drop the fear. I think that if there's anything that keeps coming up in my life, it's more of doubt than fear. I don't even think it's judgment anymore, because once my book was even out there, I'm like, I hope it resonates with people. I know the story will. I don't need to be the best writer. I know there's so many writers out there, or authors out there, but my story helped me and was a huge transformation, and I know that it's unique, and I didn't do it for the sake of, let me just, I don't know, do this for the sake of saying I'm an author. Absolutely not. I knew I had a story to tell. I wrote that thing in 5 months. Like, it just came right out of me without ever writing anything like that before, you know? So I think that with identities in general, we're always evolving and we're always changing. And I love who I am now. I can say that. And I'm proud to say that.
You look happy.
Thank you. I feel it. And I know that there's times in life when everybody goes through stages of happiness and unhappiness. I mean, shit happens. This is life. Like, let's be serious. Every day is not rainbows.
You saw me, it was in October. It's pretty shitty.
Yeah.
It's doing pretty shitty.
But you were there and you were smiling and you were excited about the future. And that's all we got to do is, and then there's a difference of being present and then being excited about the future. And you can still have both. But we're here to like learn lessons and to grow and experience life. And even when times are hard or you get heartbroken or something bad happens, we can overcome it. We just need to take a breath, and we need to be our biggest cheerleaders more than anyone in our life. You know?
Why should someone go out and tell their own story? You know, there's 600,000 podcasts.
I'll tell you why.
There's a billion books of different titles.
Yeah.
What's going to get someone inspired to tell their story and to get themselves out there?
Because someone always shares something similar with you, whether it's a thought or a belief or an experience, and there can be one person in the room. Every time I do an event, I always say, even if your fear is sharing, share. Like, overcome it with me. This is a safe space where I want you to feel comfortable and informal. No one's judging you. Just explore your thought, because your one fear, somebody else now can overcome based on what you just presented. Or they might have an epiphany based on your words, or that one sentence, or that one story that you have that you felt was something you've never told anybody else before, and that helped them in some way. So I always say, share, you know?
I think it's vulnerability. I think people really admire and they really acknowledge, you know, because it could be anybody, but someone gets up on a stage or they start talking and they're willing to let you know about how they're feeling or how they got to where they are now. People really latch on to that. And I think, you know, even myself, even though I'm out here talking on this microphone, speaking at these different places, like, there's certain levels that you don't want to be vulnerable. You don't want to put yourself out there because it's that level of judgment, you know. But
you got to
it's
just
the thing
throw
that
it out the
people want
window.
the most, though. Why do people want that levels of vulnerability?
I think people are just so used to caring about what everybody else thinks that they're so afraid to find out what really is inside of them, what they're really afraid of, or judgment just in general. I think that once you realize that you can just be you, I think they're afraid to be accepted in that way because they're so either used to rejection or they have a fear of rejection. I mean, I know some of the most confident people on the outside. And I took one of my friends home. He's going to kill me. I'm not going to say his name. And he was in the car with me. And he was like, I hold back a lot. And I was like, why? Like, why do you hold back? He's like, do you hold back? I'm like, hell no. Maybe I did at one point for sure, but I don't anymore. And it's not even like, oh, I don't have time for that. It's because I choose not to. Like, you have to come to a place that the moment that you're vulnerable and you let everything out there, whether you share it or not, you're just authentically you. you build this thicker skin of just like unconditional, infinite awareness, being awake and love within yourself, that you can just share it with everybody else. That I was at an event 2 months ago. There was this woman. I didn't realize she was famous. I still don't even know who she is, really. But she was in this, like...
So she's not famous.
Snakeskin suit. And once I looked her up, I looked at her tag. I'm like, who is that? Oh, great. She has like 3 million followers. Don't really care. But I looked at her and I was like, girl, you're rocking that outfit. And she was like, thank you. And then I was like, I'm Brittany. Like, I thought she looked beautiful. And she looked like awesome and confident. Like, I'm happy to say that. Like, I'm happy to give positive reinforcement or praise to people, you know, even if she was like, oh, maybe she was self-conscious in the way that she looked or not. We can all be friends. We're all one. And I think people just have that standard of, oh, I'm better than them, or I have this fear of rejection, or I hold back for this reason. It's like, just be you. Don't be afraid. Mm-hmm. But I think that everybody is so afraid to find out what they'll find. And in reality, you're just you. People put on so many faces in front of so many different audiences too. You know, you're one person when you're at home alone. You're one person when you're with one friend. You're one person when you're in front of a microphone. You're one person when you're in front of a whole group. I want to be the same person in front of everyone and everything, freaking thing, even if it's like a tree.
Well, it's like finding that level of comfortability.
Within yourself, you know?
Within yourself.
Yeah.
So when you have those different faces on, you can be in that same place. Because I'm guilty of that right there. I can play basketball in front of 30,000 people, and there's no one there for me. I can't even look at it. I could do a speech in front of a class, or I got to give a 45-minute talk at a podcast conference in Austin. Oh, man, I got to talk about myself. What are these people going to think of me? I don't want them to see me or know me as who I am.
But that's like a limiting belief.
It is.
For yourself.
It's terrible.
And you just got to let it go.
Yeah.
You want to know why? Perfect example.
Because I'm a self-terrorist. Terrorized. I've been told.
Throw that out the window.
No,
I need
to. Because I've been called like an emotional terrorist. But I'm an emotional terrorist to myself. First and foremost.
Why do you feel you are?
I'm not. I gotta not be.
Because
it's the attachment. It's the attachment on setting such a high level of where you want to go and reaching a certain little of goals and plateaus. And that when you don't get there, that you're allowed to beat yourself up. And the only way to get to those places is to be miserable and to suffer. And then you can say you accomplished your goal. But you don't have to.
You don't have to.
And you got to push that down. So that's been a big thing for me in this process for myself, process of life, is to put those things back. You know, don't even call yourself that emotional terrorist because now you're labeling yourself as one, and subconsciously you believe it. Yeah.
And you know what's funny is
I'm grinning because I believe it. And
yeah,
it's not good.
You know, when I was in school, in college, and I would do presentations, and I would shake, and I'm like, oh my god, I think I'm a little bit nervous, but I don't feel nervous. But naturally, like my hands are shaking, right?
Clammy hands for me. Like it's I got to put a napkin in there.
We all have our shtick. Totally.
They don't drip, but it's bad.
We all have our thing, and I realize it's because I'm presenting somebody else's information in their words. And when I get up on a platform or a stage or a panel, and I sit there and I don't know the questions, and even when it's my own event, I never prepare. And it's funny because I try, and I just believe and trust so hard that it'll just come to me. And it does. Or I'm like, send me a sign. Like when I did my book tour in New York, and I was like, send me a sign. I was on my phone. I was in the back of an Uber, and I was so nauseous. And I'm like, I'm going to put my phone away. Clearly, I shouldn't be on it. I look up. Immediately, I see a billboard, and it says fear and less. So I'm like, fear less, not being fearless, to fear less. That was literally my intro for my 3 events that I had that week. And I didn't plan it because I'm like, you know what? They're coming to see me. They're coming to hear my book that I wrote about me and my journey. I already know the facts. I already know the information. I lived it. I'm just myself. So when you're in front of these thousands of people, or you're in front of that microphone and you're like, they're listening to me, what am I going to talk about? Just be yourself. Mm-hmm. And it's so much easier. And being you and being authentic will be so much more well received than anything else, or just trying to be anyone else, or trying to put on a face, trying to put on a certain mask for your audience. Just have none. Like, I want my identity now. I want to live through this life. Like in August, I turned 28 and I can't wait. And people put another label on age, right? Of being like, oh, you're turning 28. Are you worried about where you're living, what you're doing, getting married? I was like, nah, kid. Do you know what I'm worried about? Not living my life and not having enough fun and not experiencing so much greatness in my life at every level. Like, that's who I want to be. That's what I strive for. That's what I'm putting no expectations in my life, but the expectation for my book to be like, what would your life be like if you're just like, I'm not going to really think twice about it. I'm just going to have fun. Like, where's that going to lead me? Who am I going to meet? What experience, opportunity, or person is going to fall in my lap with just thinking that mindset? That's where I am now. That's who I want to be now. I want to have one face at all times. When I'm alone, when I'm with you, when I'm with anyone, in front of everyone. Like, who's that girl? That's me. But I want you to even channel that, because so many times, and there's so much pressure, even from people around us, or like the cycle of friendships, people who come in and out of our lives, or business partners, you know, when you're in it to win it or you're not, that it's okay because we grow. We are constantly growing, and we can grow apart from people, you know, no hard feelings in certain places. Everybody's growing at their own speed. Everybody's walking at their own pace, barefoot or in heels, you know, it's the same, just different. And that's allowed, you know? So we just have to follow whatever we feel is right within our gut. And we can't compare ourselves, and we can't compete. And I even say in my fitness classes, even when we're doing push-ups or a plank, and I was like, you are not in competition with the other person. You are only in competition with yourself, but in a friendly way of being your best for you. That even if you feel like you fell short, even if you only did 4 push-ups out of 10, you still did 4 beautiful, high plank, full man push-ups, you know? Like, you still did better than you thought you would. You showed up. And showing up is always a first step.
Yeah. Training people, I do the same exact thing. Like, I didn't say you had to only do 15, like, and if you didn't do them this way, then they weren't good.
Yeah.
No one said that.
Yeah.
You're literally setting standards over yourself in that veil or bubble for you to look through. It's do you realize that no one said that? And so, yeah, you know, always getting to look at the other perspective.
Yeah, what do you feel like is your identity now, and what you would want it to be?
That was going to come into my next question, you know, as you asked me that for me, because I think for even different genders, there's different roles and responsibility as we move into this time where, you know, hey, there isn't really a set age to get married or have children, or the responsibility to go out and take on that, I wouldn't say lifestyle, but to, you know, responsibility of taking on that responsibility.
There's no rush.
There's no rush. It's not needed in our society. We don't need to go out and, you know, be with someone just to say we're with someone. We want to go out to have those much more tangible experiences with individuals, whether they're soulmates, lovers, intimate partners, whatever you want to call them.
Friends, whatever.
So my identity now, compared to what time? Because what time period are we comparing right now?
Whatever you feel was transformative for you.
Man. Oh, just so much growing up. You know, the emotional terrorism side of me.
That we tossed in the bin.
We tossed in the bin. I don't even know who said that.
Doesn't even exist.
It wasn't even there.
Past
no
life.
one even heard it. And that's just the old me. That's the old competitive, you know, do whatever it takes on a physical level. And since I've, you know, stepped away from playing sports, you know, I stepped into more of a business world, it's, you know, and being much more efficient and what's the other word? Efficient and optimal with my time. And you can't do that with your physical labors and your physical talents. It's not about, hey, let me go throw a ball in the hoop or shoot this many shots. I have to be much more skilled in different areas. So I have to study up on other things, other places. And whether, you know, how I saw myself before is that, oh, this person over here is a great basketball player. If I'm doing better than him, then I can scale on how I'm doing. But it doesn't work that way when you're creating, you know, an art form, whether that's through an audio or video platform. So how can I let me be me and present who I am and get the feedback I want to get and realize that the people that I'm connecting with are the people that I want to surround myself with. So it's still a phase. It's still coming into that part. And, you know, doing this podcast and this whole 3 years of getting in this place has been transformative, where I can really be myself and people come in to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
And then also find that balance where I not just hear from me, but the person who's listening to this show, I get to make this relatable to them. No matter where they are in the world or who they are, there's something in this for them. And there's something they can take away and grow from, and that's whatever they want. So.
I like that. I even think that even we won't speak of emotional terrorism, but I know, but walking away from it, that in general, even just for your audience, the limiting beliefs that we do have for ourselves, or the things that we want to outgrow or know that don't serve us, to imagine visually a staircase and you keep walking up the steps, leaving those things behind, like leaving the emotional terrorism, leaving what we feel doesn't serve us, outgrowing, not even using the word leaving, but outgrowing people or opportunities or things in our life and experiences that we know maybe we shouldn't be in, and just giving off gratitude, saying thank you as you visualize leveling up, climbing up the steps to something greater of where you want to be, and knowing that this didn't serve me, that's okay. We're moving past this, that's okay.
I'm grabbing this out because a friend of mine, who I'm going to link you up with in Miami, met him in Colombia, and he's been a close friend. He was living in Brooklyn when I was there, and we've been doing some personal growth with each other. Him on the fitness side, me on the personal growth side.
Yeah.
And so he had given me this questionnaire, and I'm going to put it out here, and I'm going to put it onto you.
Oh, I'm so excited.
And it's an interview. It's an interview. You ask 5 people in your life.
Wow.
So, again, for me and growing as an individual, it's like,
yes,
what do people actually see when they look at me? And, because you get this idea that this is an idea of what people see you, and you put out back what you think people see. So you want to ask someone close with you, relationship, family, whoever, you ask them first, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What does everybody already know about you? We just went hibernate right there. What can people count on you for, and what can people never count on you for? So you are able to get a different idea about how someone can look at you.
Can I tell you something?
Shoot.
I can answer that right now, because I always not ask that, or it's brought to my attention through, I feel, and I'm so thankful for it, and I can say it in a very sure way, that so many of my friends and people in my life I've brought on this journey with me, whatever they're going through in life, whether it's with their family, friends, or in relationships, to just communicate more, and it'll make them stronger in the end, but also just being who they are and being comfortable with whoever that person is. And like, yes, releasing all of their fears, but everything within them where, yeah, people didn't think they were enough. I thought at one point, like, I wasn't enough in certain areas of my life, and now I had to grow to a point of confidence to say I am enough. And I don't see confidence led by ego or conceitedness. I see it as more of being sure and certain of who I am, and being proud of the way that I present myself, but more so feeling more that I am real, and lead with a certain presence of, I'm just being me, and you can accept that, you can love it, or you can hate it, I don't really care. But that it's what I think the reverse of that questionnaire is. People tell me a lot, especially through where I am now and speaking, what they think of me, what they see, maybe what are my strengths, what I believe my weaknesses are. And I sadly sometimes don't see that, and it makes me sad. And like, I'll give you some, for instance. Even like when I go into my hair salon, like, they call me Sunshine, right? Or if I go into the job, they call me Sunshine. And I'm like, oh, why? And they're like, because you bring in sunshine. And I'm like, really? And then they're like, how do you not see that? And then it kind of makes me sad of, maybe I don't think of myself that way, but if I bring that to you, amazing. But if I claim that and then I'm aware of that, does that make me an egotistical human being? You know, even though all I want to do is share love and happiness with other people, that if I see someone that I'm genuinely so happy to see, or 10 people in a row and I'm equally so excited to see them, I get so excited. Like, I'm so happy, and that maybe they feel the light and that beautiful energy that's coming out of me to be received by them. And that I feel a weakness of mine is that I don't communicate well enough, which may sound crazy to some people, but I work on that every day, you know, or holding some things in and holding on to my pride. And yes, speaking my truth, but more so feeling, do I want to say everything I want to say, or should I hold back?
Where does that come from, though? That point that you don't want to take the nice gesture or even a gift or present. Where is that level of, I think it's puritanical idea, but where does it come from? Why do I reject that? I don't think you're by yourself on that one. I think that's
you know what? I think that's something that I'm still learning, because I'm noticing it now. And I think because I'm so afraid to be judged as if I claim that I bring that to something or someone or to a place, that may make me seem like I'm leading with ego, and I never am. And I don't ever want people to mistake that for confidence or the power of my presence to help others and how I want to lead myself and my life and what I believe to be true and pure realness and authenticity. And so that's just going back and forth between the whole doubt, judgment of what others think of me being like, wait, but then if I don't care and then they see me for who I am, and if they don't like it and I'm not for you, I'm okay with that.
But I think that everybody, I think it's the self-love.
Yeah.
Like people are giving you love.
Yeah.
But I don't think we know how to take it in. I don't know how to take it in. Compliments
and
or
that might be
just
something
nice
of
gestures.
of our totally same, by the way. And I think that might be something of our shadow that we really got to dig down deep to find out, even like, what did we come here to do? What is our general lesson to learn if we want to go that deep? But like so many of my friends, if I'm like, you look great today, that looks so beautiful on you, I love your hair that way, or I love the way you did that, I love the way you said that, and they can't take a compliment. I'm like, how could you not take a compliment?
I don't know if
then how could I not take a compliment?
Do you just say thank you back to them? Like we really don't know like what is the proper exchange just in our time and where we are. If someone says to me, oh man, I really, really like what you did in this video, or this is like, all right, thanks. Like, because I think what we're looking at is we're just being ourselves.
Yeah.
We're doing what we want to do. So when someone does acknowledge or admire something that, it's not just unique to us. I mean, everybody does something unique and special and great. But how do we take that in? What do we give, reciprocity?
Maybe.
Being reciprocal? Is that
totally?
Where do we put that?
Perfect word. You want to know why? Because even today, this past week, I decided, which is very interesting about this because it just reminded me that when somebody was giving me a compliment, I was like, thank you. I received that. I'm like, thank you. Because I want to genuinely, because I think I read or I heard something somewhere that was like, receive that energy. You're giving, you're giving, you're giving. You don't want to deplete your tank. You can refill it on your own, but try accepting that from other people. I was like, wow, I don't do that, but I want to do that. Like, I want to accept and receive that. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I've been so playing with energy because now, like, yes, my little crystals or meditation or being with people and all different types of
crystals.
people. But in general, I'm like, I can walk into a room and know when it doesn't feel right. Or I can walk into a group of people who are even like gossiping and I'm like, I don't want to be there. Like, that's not the type of energy I want to bring to myself. And I don't even know what I called it back then. If I was just like, that's not my vibe, maybe. Now I realize everything is energy. Everything is connection. Human, emotional, personal, one-on-one connection is a feeling. It's a movement. And I just think that we just need to decide, how do we want to move forward with all of that? What do we want to accept? What do we want to receive? What do we want to reject? Knowing what's good for us and what's not.
We're running close on time, but I wanted to get into one more topic.
Yes.
Because you had mentioned earlier when we were talking about 25 and selfish, it's not just been women who your book's been very relatable to. You've had a lot of men.
Yes.
And I don't even know what age, like you said, even in the 40s.
Yeah.
Reaching out and contacting you.
Yeah.
So in this state of just different roles and responsibilities changing and, how we can go and live our lives, who do you think has been more vulnerable, and who do you think's as a gender, as a man, or is it women, and who is the person or who's the group that's really hurting right now?
Wow, that's a great question. I believe women are being more vulnerable. I think that also last year I'm also like kind of into numerology only because I learned about it. I knew nothing about it. I think that's why I also like crystals and meditation and this whole world of spirituality. It's when you like count up certain numbers. Like last year was 2018, which ends up being, hold on, 8, 9, 10.
Oh God.
11, sorry.
I'm already suspicious.
Okay, so wait. So you count up, so I'm not a mathematician. You count up 2018, right? And it ends up being the number 11. But in numerology, everything is by a 1-digit number. So let's say when it's number 9, that means like the end of a cycle. So then when you go to number 10, it starts 1 because being 10, 1 is really just, that 1 digit. So it starts the cycle over again. But when it's 11, 1 plus 1 is 2. So in numerology, 2 is a very feminine number. So it was said that the energy of the year 2018 was for women and that anything that they wanted to do would be a success. And I was like, great, because my book is coming out that year. But also you have a lot of more women speaking out, whether men are disagreeing or agreeing with whatever the movement of women is and what they are and what they stand for now. We're being so much more vocal about it in every single way that I think we feel that it's more safe for us to become more vulnerable and speak more of our truth. I think that men, here's the thing. When we go back to talking about the male gender in general, way back in the day, like caveman days, all you guys had to do was like provide for the fam in the sense of like food, shelter, protection, intimacy.
I mean, on a biological level, it's really just consuming resources and multiplying.
Absolutely. So for women, right. And the thing is like with multiplying, you guys have the seed to multiply. So you can plant the seed everywhere. Mm-hmm. For women, like we feel more attached, let's say, even to just one person because we are receiving that and then we're building and having babies and all of this stuff. But we're used to being nurturing and in our emotional sense and taking care of things and not really back in the day having to worry about saying, I'm going to provide, I'm going to be a CEO, I'm going to be the breadwinner, I'm going to also be a mom at the same time as working. How could I do it all with all of these chromosomes that we have that make us feel more and have more feminine energy more than males, even though sometimes males have more of that feminine energy than us. I just think it's based on also men feeling comfortable in their skin to not have to feel like such a man, whatever a man may be, of feeling like I can't say that because that makes me feminine when I'm so in my masculine energy, or I'm not ready to be vulnerable because I'm not even thinking about it that much because I'm thinking about sports, or you know what I mean? It's like there's so many other things that I think that females are so much more in tune right now with vulnerability than men. I don't even think I can generalize it, and I don't even really want to. I think maybe in what I'm viewing is that's what I see, but I hope that if any guy that listens to this or reads my book, that you can stem away from it as, I know that when guys read my book, they're like, wow, I kind of dived into the female psyche of where I didn't even know that someone like you thought that way. And I was like, what do you mean someone like me? Like, what was your perspective of me as a person then before reading my book? Like, did you think I was promiscuous? Like, oh, did you think I was this or that, or that I didn't held myself to a certain account? But that they at least saw that part of me to where they're like, wow, I get that, I respect that, and that made me view my life differently and how I view women, or how I view them in a situation that I put them in or I'm in with them. And I hope that men in general can just realize that you will be more accepted even within women or men or whatever gender that you're into in a relationship, when you do speak your truth on a level that's a safe communication, not rivalry or who's better than this, who's right or wrong, but just communicating and realizing that being vulnerable with each other is like the most beautiful truth and feeling and connection that can trump over any relationship, any situation, any experience to make it better if they just let everything out and did not hold back. Mm-hmm.
And last one, sexual revolution. We're talking 1960s, this idea that, a woman is not supposed to be dependent on a man, is that you don't need to have kids, you can raise your kids as a single mom. And how do you think that has an impact on women in the workplace, women and their sexuality in today?
I think that it's helped us step into our power, to feel like we actually have power, compared to maybe when we felt that we were second, we weren't allowed to have power and we didn't know how to use it. And I think that now we can do anything we want. And I think that we were so limited back then too, to at this point, we are just going by the beat of our own drum. And that I think if women do want to be the breadwinner, or they do want to be that CEO, or even with sexuality of like being monogamous or not, or whatever it is, that we feel that we actually have the choice to do what we want, not what society wants us to do.
And how do you think that this hasn't made women more lonely in terms of not being able to have families at a later age?
I think, I can't speak for everyone in that sense, but I would believe that there definitely is a greater pool of loneliness through it. I think because even with their loneliness, they fill that void with work, or hopefully finding a new passion. I know that even with a lot of mothers that I deal with who are divorced or whose kids go off to college and now they're just with them and their husband and they're like, wow, it hasn't been us for like 18, 19 years. who are we now? Now I feel like we have to re-evolve our relationship. And what do I like now? What is my passion when I lived for my kids or when I lived for my job? I think that people lose sight of what they love and who they were or who they are, who they have become. And are they happy with that person that they are now, with their identity?
To look at your family, especially my mom and dad, watching them go through, the roles of being a father, a mother, and then watching them, through a divorce, be single. It's being single in their 40s and 50s.
Yeah, and it's scary.
And just watching all that happen. And then as for me as a male, in this time, in this place, like, oh, well, my dad had me when he was 25, I'm 29 right now.
Right.
Just thinking about even then, like, these different responsibilities and the lack thereof responsibilities. Or again, like we talked about earlier, the freedom and to know that I don't need to be making those choices and decisions at that age. I had the privilege to not go out and do those things. I got to choose the life I wanted to live and the person I wanted to be rather than. So it's interesting thing to reflect on. And
it goes back to pressure. Like, are we going to accept the pressure from society? Are we going to accept the pressure from the people we surround ourselves with? And are we going to listen to them? Or are we just going to do what we want? I mean, yeah, a lot of my friends are so worried about being 28 and single or maybe being in the wrong relationship or wanting to get engaged so badly. And I'm just here chilling. And yeah, sometimes I think about, okay, would I love to be in a relationship? Sure, but I'm not going to half-ass it and I'm not going to settle. And that's right what I talk about in the first pages of my book, that I was so afraid to settle because I thought that was going to be my end destination. And I will not allow it to happen. And I know that even through this experience of even having fun, that I had to go through certain experiences the past couple months and learn certain lessons to like step confidently in my power, in my sexual power, even in a relationship setting or what I want to do with my life, that really it's all connected. Even if I even try to separate it, makes us who we are. Every day, every experience, who we speak with, what we do, what we want to do is all connected and intertwined. And with our mindset, we have to be the ones to choose.
B, we got you to 128 BPMs right there. It was perfect. We got you jazzed up, leaving us on a good high note. So we're going to wrap it up there.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out. It's the first episode of the new series.
Oh my God, I'm so
You're
psyched.
the first person that I've sat down with since. So
I'm so honored. Amazing hand hug.
We got it. Again, let people know where they can find 25 and Selfish, number one, and where they can connect with you, where they can see you speak. I don't even know you're running meditation, guided meditations as well. So plug yourself away.
Okay. Instagram, Berger_Queen, Berger.
Spell it right.
_Queen.
I fumbled.
You did fumble.
I fumbled.
That's okay. It's like the Jewish way of burger. Don't judge. And my website is www.iambrittanyberger.com. And you can get my book on my website, find out about past podcast articles, magazines, future events, and get my book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, iBook, Nook, Books and Books if you're in Miami, Florida, autographed. And I have a lot of events coming up, so definitely check me out in Miami. And if you want to bring me to a retreat or anywhere, come back to LA to see you. Hit me up, but please connect with me because I also love hearing everybody's stories and inputs. And I just think, again, the most important thing in life is showing up and sharing. And don't be afraid to be who you are, because who you are is great. And you're here for a reason. And if you weren't here for a reason, then you wouldn't be here.
Bam. Guys and gals, go check out Brittany's book, 25 and Selfish. B, can we already pre-order and subscribe to the new book or not yet? It's not even done.
Yet. It's still being written.
It's not even done. Go out, connect. Go check out one of her speeches. Go check out one of her talks. I got plugged in to who Brittany was by some of my friends who went to go see her speak in New York, Mary and Monique.
Yeah.
Yes, they put me into you. So, yeah, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. This is a new series, so if you are part of the old series, welcome to the new series. And if you are new, welcome. This is the Bus Driver Experience. We're so happy to have you guys, and we're signing off. Have a great day, everyone.
This is the moment for those who